Na 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 Batman. Swear to me. Swear to me. Welcome to a special Minisode of the Mordork podcast thing.
Tiny-sode. That's what we're calling it. We're going to call it a tiny-sode.
That is literally the worst idea I've ever heard.
Literally the worst idea I've ever heard.
Not seriously. I've heard far worse.
Yeah, guys.
Having me do a podcast with my annoying voice was far worse.
Yeah, we'll just call you Annoying Voice Carson.
That does not roll off the tongue well.
It really doesn't. Yeah, guys, welcome. We're here in the middle of the week. It's weird. How's your guys' week going? Is it going well? Our week's going okay. Is that right, Carson?
Yeah, actually my week is going pretty good because I just saw Batman the Killing Joke.
Yeah, it was pretty great. We're not going to do any news, although I know there's a crap load of news that just got dumped on us Saturday. Not to mention a lot of other stuff too, but we will cover that all Friday if I remember to talk about it.
If we have time, which...
Yeah, so we're just going to basically do a non-spoiler overall what we thought of the Killing Joke, and then we're going to talk about spoilers. So let's get right into it. Carson, in 30 words or less, what was the plot of this movie?
Well, there were kind of two plots, because there were kind of two stories, but yet they do relate in some way, which I'll get into whenever we talk of spoilers. But so I'm just going to describe the second plot, so to speak, which is the plot of the comic book The Killing Joke by Alan Moore.
Yeah, which I have
on which this movie is based.
Yeah.
And the Joker kidnaps Commissioner Gordon and tries to put him through hell in order to prove a point that everyone is only one bad day away from going insane.
Close. Alright, that's...
Wait, what do you mean close? Do you mean close on description or close on, word count?
Close on word count.
Okay.
A little bit over. We'll get them next time. So yeah, that's basically the plot. I'm just gonna say it. I like this movie a lot. I thought it was pretty good. The Killing Joke, I've read the comic, and you have too, right?
Oh, yeah.
So we are both familiar with the comic, but I think it also needs to stand on its own as a movie, if you're not familiar with it. And one thing I'll say that it has that the comic doesn't have is the opening part, and I guess that's not technically spoilery.
No, we're just saying that there's a part of the movie that is tacked on at the beginning.
Right, yeah.
To pad the runtime and to complement the story, what is already existing with the comic.
Yeah. So, I like the comic book a lot.
Probably shouldn't have said tacked on, because tacked on makes it sound like it was just no thought, just kind of slapped on there. Whenever I could tell that thought did go into that first part.
Yeah. I thought it was really, really well done. The first part is an original story. It's not based on anything that I can tell. And then, obviously, you have the Killing Joke part. And I think that they both work really well together. My rating system of, would I see it again or wouldn't I see it again? Definitely. I'd go see it again. I probably will. Or at least I'll rent it again.
This was a one-time show in
yeah.
the theaters, so we can't go see it again in theaters.
Yeah, but I thought it was really, really cool. The Killing Joke is a really special story,
Oh, it's one of the quintessential Batman Joker stories.
Right, and I don't really even think of it as a Batman story. It's really more of a... I don't know, it is more Joker-centric than most stories are, but it's even more than that. It's bigger than both of them. It kind of just... It has this idea, and that's kind of a thing that Alan Moore was kind of known for, is just playing with these ideas in the world of a comic book. And, I don't know if I would say it's my favorite Batman story. I don't really, like I said, I don't think of it as a Batman story, but it's definitely, as far as comic book stories go, one of the best. So, what did you think about it?
I really love this movie. I mean, it's not perfect. There are a few small things that bug me that I might get into during our spoiler section, but no movie is perfect, and every movie has at least some things that I can nitpick.
Yeah.
And so overall, I thought that this was solid. I thought that this was pretty much how you do an adaptation of a comic. It's very respectful of the source material, pretty much a straight adaptation, and the only changes are just changes that are made to make the story better fit its new medium rather than to alter the DNA of the story. Right, it's very much intact, and what is added complements it pretty well and is a decent Batman story in its own right. I definitely think the second half, where they are straight up adapting the Killing Joke, is the stronger part of it. But that could just be, me as as a lover of Batman and his history through the comics, just saying, oh, this is one of the most famous and most influential Joker stories of all time being adapted.
Yeah, no big deal.
But yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah, so
best movie with Batman in it that I've seen so far this year.
Got him again. Take that, Ben Affleck.
I like Ben Affleck as Batman. He just got a movie that I didn't enjoy.
Yeah.
Hopefully he'll be better in Suicide Squad.
I just like to put up his sad face every time we talk about him.
He's got such a good sad face. He's like a puppy.
I know. It's so sad. Yeah. So
watch it. Watch it whenever. I think it comes out digitally tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which
or
by the time
is it already out?
Well, by the time this comes out, I looked it up. I think it comes out for us tomorrow, but by the time this is up, it'll probably be like yesterday.
Yeah.
For the viewers. Probably. So by the time you listen to this, it should already be out digitally, and it comes out August 2nd, I believe, on DVD and Blu-ray.
Yeah.
I think it's worth it. I think it's worth seeing this.
Yeah,
whether you're a longtime Batman fan who's familiar with the comics, or if you're just more of a casual fan who just wants a good Batman story. I will say it is rated R, so
Yeah, it's
I wouldn't let your little 5-year-old Jimmy who gosh darn it loves Batman. I wouldn't let him watch this, but for you older Batman fans.
Yeah. So yeah, all right. I guess that means spoiler time.
So should we break this up into kind of like how the movie did it into the two halves?
Yeah. Let's say something about. I want to say one thing about the first half real quick. The whole thing about kind of showing Batgirl, I thought that was really cool.
It was really interesting because one of the main criticism of the comic is that Barbara Gordon is a plot device and she's not shown respect as a character, and that is amplified even more whenever you look at some of the things that were said behind the scenes whenever Alan Moore went to go ask for permission.
Yeah.
And they did not treat a character with as many fans as Barbara Gordon has with the respect that she deserved.
Yeah,
but I'm talking it arguably in the original comic and definitely behind the scenes.
Yeah, she really didn't have any much of a role at all in the Killing Joke comic. But then again, the Killing Joke wasn't really originally intended to be part of the overall Batman canon. It was meant to be like a one-off kind of Elseworld story. But because people liked it so much, it was later adapted into the overall canon, and the whole thing where Barbara Gordon gets shot and becomes Oracle, that, was actually made. That's where that comes from. And I think that is cool because Batgirl, one of Barbara Gordon's, worst moments in her life as a character, becomes this opportunity for her to completely change and, be something arguably even more effective in the form of, Oracle, where she is able to help everybody from behind the scenes.
Regardless of how you feel about how they actually went about paralyzing Barbara Gordon, good things did ultimately come from that, in my opinion, because I do love her as Oracle. And the thing is, most of the time, character development, at least powerful character development, doesn't come whenever life is easy.
Yeah.
It comes through crap. It comes through disaster. It comes through stuff like this. That's where your mettle is tested, and that's where you either break or you climb and make yourself stronger. And I think, and that's true a lot of times in real life, and it's true in fiction and writing. And so I think that even though it may have been able to be handled a little bit better in the comic. I do think that it did ultimately lead to some good things and to some character growth for Barbara. And I do think that maybe some people might feel like she was treated with a little bit more respect in this movie because basically the first half of the movie is really her movie.
Yeah.
It's really from her perspective and about her.
And I think that's kind of cool because we really haven't seen much of Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, in, animated movies.
Batman Sub-Zero was also her movie, in my opinion. It was a Mr. Freeze movie.
Yeah. Have I seen that one? I don't know. But that was during the animated series, right?
Yeah, it's animated series.
Tara Strong, the voice of Batgirl from the animated series, is the voice. She comes back for this as well, so that was cool.
And speaking of cool voice actors returning, we have Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill as Batman and Joker, respectively. And they are awesome as always. They are the voices of those two characters. No one will ever be able to convince me otherwise.
Yeah.
And they're still doing great.
Yeah.
This may be one of my favorite Mark Hamill Joker performances.
He just goes all out for this. It's pretty amazing because he has to voice act not only the Joker but the origin Joker, so he's got to really change his voice up for that.
Yeah, and you can tell it's the same character, but yet they're different enough.
Yeah, it was really cool how he did that because we haven't seen him do anything else other than the Joker before, so that was cool.
And then Kevin Conroy, his deep voice, it just encapsulates what Batman should be. And they got Batman to say "swear to me" in this movie. They got Kevin Conroy to do the Christian Bale line.
That was kind of funny.
I kind of wanted to stand up and cheer and say yeah.
And that was like one of the, I don't know, I kind of thought that was funny when thinking back on that. Was that Batman Begins, I think?
Yeah, it was Batman Begins.
I thought that was that's kind of a weird line, but when Kevin Conroy says it, it sounds more like I can take it more seriously than Christian Bale going, "Swear to me."
I love you, Christian Bale.
But going back to the first part.
Yeah, we keep wanting to skip ahead.
Well, I wanted to say something about that. So Barbara Gordon is like, she becomes, I guess, sort of like, she finds her own sort of nemesis in this guy who has this weird fascination with her.
And what I really like about that is it's quite clearly a parallel to Batman and the Joker.
Yeah.
This guy is fascinated and infatuated with Batgirl in the same way that the Joker is with Batman. And so, of course, Batman kind of recognizes this and is kind of like, I don't want you on this case.
Yeah.
And even though he might not say it at first aloud, it's clear that that's why, because he's been through this before.
Yeah.
He doesn't want her to have her own personal Joker.
Yeah.
And then he is kind of forced to kind of open up a little bit and say, I've stared at the abyss. And then you can quite clearly hear the implication of, whenever I face the Joker, I don't want you to have to deal with that. So I thought that was kind of cool and kind of foreshadowing whenever the Joker does come in, and Batman will once again, and Commissioner Gordon will once again have to face the abyss.
Yeah. And they have this altercation, and somehow it results in them having sex.
Yeah, how did
doing
you feel,
the bat nasty?
How did you feel about Barbara Gordon and Batman?
That was weird. Did that kind of seem out of left field to you?
Well, I'm not gonna,
because I've never really seen them. I don't know for sure, but I've never really seen them as romantic involved. Have they been in the comics at all?
I've seen interpretations of Batman where Batgirl is infatuated with Batman, or where she has feelings, but I've never seen them in a real relationship, and it's kind of immediately weird for me because I always see her, if she's involved with anybody in the Bat family, it's Dick Grayson.
Well, because I always thought of her as much younger than Batman.
Yeah.
This felt even weirder.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm really against unnecessary love stories in Hollywood. I'm not saying I'm against love stories in general, because there are some TV shows or movies where I've been like, oh, I really want these couples to get together because they're so well written and I want them to be together.
Grey's Anatomy.
I ship people.
Yeah.
But
it's
whenever it's unnecessary or just feels forced.
I wouldn't say
and
this is unnecessary though, because I could see why they were doing it. They needed to have give her a big reason to quit being Batgirl.
Well, that's actually what I was going to get to. So at first it kind of bugged me because it kind of was like, this kind of feels unnecessary, and I feel like it's a little insulting to women that it's like, oh, we're giving Barbara Gordon a bigger part so she doesn't feel like just a plot device. But then she's infatuated with a bigger, stronger man. I mean, it's kind of like, that kind of seems like it just kind of seems insulting to me that like every woman in a movie needs to have a relationship or want to be in a relationship. So I was kind of against it at first. Then I kind of saw what they were doing with it, and it gives her a reason to quit being Batgirl, and also the guy who has become infatuated with her Joker, so to speak, almost kills Batman, and then she in turn almost kills him, in much the same way that Batman has over the years almost killed Joker after he's done a lot of things. That because that guy almost killed Batman, the person that she loves, she almost takes a life and goes steps over that line, which is kind of, I really love parallel, by the way, like in filmmaking and storytelling, and so maybe I'm seeing parallels where it doesn't exist, but
I think that was intentional,
it seems to parallel what's going to happen later.
Yeah,
Batgirl is being shoved to the brink of the abyss because somebody that she cares about is being hurt.
Mm-hmm.
In the second half of the movie, Jim Gordon is pushed to the brink of the abyss because Joker hurt somebody that he cared about, which in this case was Barbara, and Batman is kind of indirectly being pushed to the brink of the abyss because both Jim Gordon and Barbara have been. So it kind of foreshadows and parallels it, but I don't know, I feel like they could have gotten away with the same thing with them just being close partners instead of having to be romantically tied. Yeah. Like I said, this is more probably like a personal thing. I just think that I think it's kind of weird because I do associate her being more with Dick Grayson, and also, like I said, I'm kind of against the idea of like every woman needs to be in a relationship in Hollywood. Like, if you want to do some of them, fine, but make sure it actually benefits the story. And feels like necessary with the writing, and this one I don't really feel like it was absolutely necessary, but I also see where we're going with it, so I just kind of end up kind of being indifferent about it. Yeah. Like it's
it doesn't ruin anything for me.
No, it doesn't. It definitely doesn't ruin the movie. Yeah. It was just kind of something that was kind of weird and odd, and I could see people not liking.
Yeah, it's just like, oh well, I guess this is happening. But as for the actual Killing Joke part of this movie, it is very closely adapted, in some ways, scene by scene.
It pretty much got all the lines that I wanted to be. Like, there are so many classic lines in that story. In the comic, and they pretty much got them all into this movie.
And I don't really think we should go into too much detail, because in a way that would just
spoilers.
That would just be us basically like reviewing the comic book, and I think at this point most people know that it's like a classic and that it's kind of a must-read if you have any interest in Batman at all. But I do want to say that one thing that really stood out to me was the kind of mood shift that they went to whenever it was the flashback scenes, and there's something that doesn't really carry over from the comic, I don't think. And a big part of this was the music. After the movie, they actually had this cool little like special feature, I guess, talking about how they decided to compose the music. One of them is actually the woman who worked on the original animated series came back for this one as well. And I guess what I'm trying to say about the mood shift is like it just feels a lot more. I don't know. It feels like more normal. Like the music kind of has this more sort of melancholy, like kind of feel to it.
It's kind of more somber and less costumes and gadgets, and more like a little bit more down to earth.
Yeah, and then it just kind of like and by the end of it, of course, it goes more bombastic and crazy. And I thought that was a really cool transition because you really, if this story, and obviously this origin for Joker isn't set in stone.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I love about this story, this movie, and the comic, is that it pretty much gives us the definitive Joker backstory. Like, that's pretty much the backstory that everybody remembers, that everybody considers to be his actual backstory.
Yeah.
But it does leave that room for question, you know. It's that, you know, it's kind of like in Dark Knight how he keeps changing his backstory. In this one, he's like, sometimes I remember one way, sometimes I remember it another way. If I have to have a past, I prefer it be multiple choice.
Yeah.
You know, it probably is actually his backstory, but it could just be a figment of his imagination that he's remembering incorrectly, and next time he'll remember it differently.
Right, yeah.
You know, it leaves that open, and I like that ambiguity of that little sliver where it's like, yeah, this is kind of open to interpretation in this instance.
Yeah, so I just think that was really cool how they like made that transition.
Can I also just say that I love Joker's plan in this one, or what his goal is?
Yeah.
That's just like an insanely interesting idea to me. That Joker wants to prove that everybody is underneath just as insane as he is. Like, it's like from The Dark Knight, whenever Batman asks, "What were you trying to prove that underneath everybody is just as ugly as you?" I probably got that wrong because I said it really quickly and I didn't actually think about it, but. Probably got the quote wrong, but you know, he says something along that lines, and that really is Joker's whole point throughout this story. Is he wants to take a good man, Jim Gordon, and tear him down, make him lose all sanity.
Yeah.
And Joker really believes that that sanity is the only, or insanity is the only response to trouble. You know.
Yeah. Pretty much.
The world is so full of crap that you can't help but going insane, and that going insane is the only sane thing to do. Yeah. And I don't know, I love the twisted logic in that. Mm-hmm. And this is like the one Joker story where I like, for a few brief moments, I actually feel sorry for him. Yeah, that they do a real good job. Alan Moore did a really good job when he wrote this of making the Joker sympathetic, which is something that had never been done before. I'm not sure if it's ever been done since. Before or since. Like, I can't think of and the movie does this very well. Because it is such a good adaptation, it does this insanely well. And I can't think of another Joker story where I've been like, I kind of feel a little sorry for him. Like, it humanizes the Joker. There are moments where I can almost imagine like him breaking through the cloud of insanity that he's wrapped around himself, and kind of seeing himself from the outside and seeing just how broken he is. Yeah. But then, just as soon as the clouds part, they gather back around, and he's back to being the insane clown prince of crime. Yeah, I think the Joker is a really interesting character, obviously, but in my opinion, the reason for that is he's just a human. He's just a guy, but, well, unless you read, Rebirth, but, none of that. He's just a guy, but at the same time, he's almost like a force of nature. He can't be stopped. He keeps coming back no matter what. Batman can't bring himself to kill him. They have that weird, dichotomous relationship, and I just think that it's really interesting. That's who the Joker is. He's just kind of a force of evil, but he's still just a man. And I think something we almost never see is Joker being the man, being the human being who he is. And I think that should be used sparingly. Yeah, because if you do that, then it ruins the power and kind of the mystery around Joker that makes him. But I think an element of why he's so appealing. But I think this one, this story does it well and shows that, he is just a guy underneath it all. And then, of course, it kind of just ends, Yeah, but the ending kind of bothered me just slightly. Like, it's a really nitpick thing. I think it lasted a little bit too long. Like, not the movie, but, like, the laughing at the end. Oh. I felt like they should have cut it off just a little bit sooner. Because it ends with a laugh. I won't say more than that, even though we are into spoilers. I won't say more than that, but it ends with laughing, and I feel like they let the laugh go on a little bit too long. I think it would have been well, like, if you've read the story, it's exactly the same ending, and I thought is a great ending. Yeah, I know. I love the ending to this movie. It's left intentionally ambiguous because, like I said, originally it wasn't supposed to be part of the canon. It was supposed to be like, well, what did happen there? It made you start to question, wait, what did he do? And it's like, so I think that was pretty cool.
ambiguous endings are really frustrating a lot of times, but, done well, I think
it depends on the story for me. Like, what you should tell or how much you should tell and how much you should leave open to interpretation is completely dependent on the story. There are some times where ambiguous endings work, a la Inception.
Mm-hmm.
There are some times where ambiguous endings really don't work. Same thing with factual endings, definite endings.
Yeah.
In some stories they're great, in other stories it would ruin it.
Yeah.
But one thing that did kind of bother me just a little bit, and this kind of goes back also to the Alan Moore comic. I feel like we're reviewing both the comic and the movie, but like I said, like we've said, they're so closely tied together. Other than that first part, that it's kind of hard to, you can't really review one without reviewing the other.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that's kind of like bothered me a little bit in both of them was some of the designs for Joker's henchmen. The freak show.
Oh,
I don't know. There are just some of those henchmen that I just don't like the design of.
Like what? The Wolfman? He was a little over the top.
Wolfman, the little weird baby.
Oh thing. Yeah, I was kind of wondering, like, are those like midgets? What are they supposed to be?
Yeah, I don't know. That's just, I guess that's more of a personal taste thing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just supposed to make you feel uneasy and weird.
Well, it definitely accomplishes
yeah.
that. But overall, I really liked the art design. Like some of a lot of the imagery is lifted right out of the comics, but I think it's solid throughout.
Yeah. The Killing Joke, it's an iconic story. It's amazing that they were able to pull it off as an adaptation. And I think that, I personally think it's one of the most important comic books, and I think most people would probably agree. It's one of the most important, not only Batman stories, but comic book stories in general.
Definitely. I definitely agree with that.
And I think that this movie was probably one of the most well-made DC animated movies so far.
It's definitely their most well-made in a while, because even though they've still been solid, they've kind of been on a downward slope, but now, with quality dropping just a little bit each movie, but now I feel like this is one of their best ones.
Yeah, so, so any last thoughts about Batman?
Batman is awesome. I don't know.
Let's see if Suicide Squad can top this.
Oh boy. I hope Suicide Squad is good, but I don't think, no matter how good it is, it will be able to beat its Batman and its Joker will not be able to beat this Batman and this Joker, and that's not putting down Ben Affleck or Jared Leto. They could be amazing, but the thing is, Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill have these characters down to a T by this point. Yeah, and this is a good adaptation of one of the greatest comics ever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, with these characters in it. So I think that it's Suicide Squad's Batman and Joker are at a disadvantage. Maybe they'll somehow be the underdog that pull it off, but I don't think they will. But I still hope they're good. Yeah. There was one thing I forgot to say. One thing that I thought was interesting. At the beginning of the Killing Joke comic, Batman goes to Arkham Asylum, sits down with the Joker, and is just like, I want to talk because I want to try to figure out if there's some way we can end this without one of us eventually dying, one of us eventually killing the other one. Mm-hmm. This movie has that scene. Yeah. But I thought it was interesting how, in my mind, the first half with Barbara facing that insane guy who became obsessed with her, kind of, to me at least, led to that. Because the way I took it was, Batman witnesses Barbara facing somebody who is like the Joker to her, and sees how far she's pushed and how she almost crosses the line. Yeah. Then they find all those bodies that the Joker killed years ago, while he still has that memory of Barbara almost crossing the line in his mind. And so now that shifts it from being third person to now being personal. Finding the bodies, he's reminded of the Joker. So then that prompts him to go to Arkham Asylum. That's kind of how I read that. Yeah. Read that. Like, the first story kind of leads into the second one as far as Batman's point of view. It informs kind of why he went to Arkham Asylum, or kind of gives a specific thing that prompted him to go.
Yeah. I thought
that was interesting.
Yeah, I thought it gelled together pretty well.
Yeah.
Plus, I was trying to think of a good transition for this, but we both met Kevin Conroy once, so that's pretty great.
Yeah, we both have...
What have you done with your life?
We both have Batman posters signed by Kevin Conroy hanging in our...
Yeah, we do. So, yeah.
He was a nice guy. I mean, I don't pay attention to celebrities, like, personal lives, but everything he said, but he seemed like a really nice guy, and, you know, I heard good things about him, and he's very funny. He's very interesting to listen to at Q&A panels. So
go out and meet Kevin Conroy today.
But yeah, so that was awesome, and he's awesome as Batman.
So guys,
wow, we really did that. Had like nothing to do with that. You just wanted to brag.
Just to brag, yeah. So guys, go out and watch this movie or rent it, whatever, because it is really good.
Yeah, but once again, it's not for children.
Yeah, if you're a children, don't watch it, children.
I do have to say, I'm sorry, I just keep thinking of things to say. I have to praise this movie for showing restraint, because there's some movies and writers who would say, "Oh, okay, we're getting an R rating. Well, let's just do whatever the heck we want."
They didn't go crazy with it.
Yeah, like, I mean, obviously there's some dark stuff in it, but it's dark stuff that was part of the story.
Yeah.
You know,
they don't
like
add anything.
Some writers would just have like F-bombs every few minutes. You know, they'd go crazy. They'd push it as far as they could.
Yeah.
Which in a lot of ways is less mature.
Yeah, there wasn't that much.
You know, it was immature. Like.
Which
was
surprising.
I don't even think they said the F word. I think that one of the criminals actually says, "What the F?"
Yeah, he says, "What the F?"
He says, like, F the letter, not, like, F the actual word.
Yeah, so...
So, you know, I thought, you know, I kind of admired the restraint, because it makes the dark stuff even more significant. Like, if you have, you know, I shouldn't say not dark stuff, but, you know, stuff that isn't quite as serious or as dark, it kind of makes the darker stuff more serious. And also, like I said, it just adding an F-bomb every few minutes a lot of times makes it feel more like a kid playing Call of Duty. You know, it doesn't make it more mature, it makes it less mature by stooping to that. So I admire the restraint that it knew when to be dark, when to be really dark, and when just to be dark.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And there were some legitimately funny parts, too.
Yeah, it was funny. Joker is a funny man. Alright, guys, so, I guess that's it.
Our kind of rambling thoughts. We just saw the movie, so, as usual, we don't actually, like, organize our thoughts before doing this.
Yeah, so I guess we will see you guys this weekend. And we'll talk about actual stuff like San Diego Comic-Con and other things. And
Jason Bourne coming out Friday.
Oh yeah, that thing. I forgot.
Yeah, so we'll be reviewing that. We got
a lot of movies out, guys.
Yeah, summer is upon us.
Summer is upon us. All right.
So this has been Aaron and Carson talking about The Killing Joke, which was awesome. And I will leave you with these parting words. I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman. Can you like put Kevin Conroy's voice like over mine so it actually sounds like I'm doing a good job?
No, I can't.
Crap.